From the King George's Estates in downtown Port St. Lucie, Florida, good Wednesday evening, everybody, and welcome back to KC in 60, right here on DARPATV.com. Kevin Canessa here with you for the next hour or so, and to all of our regulars, I welcome you back to the program, and to anybody who may be here for the first time, I welcome you to the program for the first time as well. Yes, I've got the full beard going, which unfortunately reveals how much gray hair I have at 39 years of age. Of course, I had gray hair when I was 7. Maybe, it started coming in very, very young. All with one little strand of hair when I had long hair, but all of a sudden it started coming in more and more as I got to like 13 and 14, and now here, forget it. Look at this. This is crazy. I really I should probably get Just for Men and get it out, but I don't know. I like it. I sort of like it. I almost wish it would be completely gray, just so I didn't have these temptations of what it used to look like when I had full black hair, but unfortunately, it's only in certain spots, but I won't use anything. I promise, Mawa. I was only kidding. But just to something I was talking about in the chat room, Mawa, yes, I would love to do an opening video for you. So just send me off to my Gmail address any kind of photos that you want. Choose a song. I know you said you used to like that song that I use, Life is Life. Maybe we could use that or whatever it is you want to use, and I'll be happy to put it together. I could probably get it to you over the weekend so that you can use it on your Saturday show. So just pick it out and let me know. So I wanted to start off the program today with something that is just very bothersome to me. And shortly after, Joel the Mouth is going to join me. We're going to do a little sports today. We haven't done sports in a while. And we're going to talk a little bit of baseball, so I know that shuts out a lot of people, so I apologize right off the bat for that, but I just have this urge to talk a little bit of baseball. But before I get into that, I have to say something. I'm very, very disappointed, and I'm very worried about the state of affairs at the World Trade Center 1, which is also known as the Freedom Tower, or whatever it is that you want to call it. They took away the name Freedom Tower a couple of years ago because in the last week, 2 major events have happened at the Freedom Tower. Number one, a 16-year-old boy from Weehawken, New Jersey, climbed from the base to the top inside, got to the top needle, which is just unbelievable. He was able to walk into the World Trade Center and get to the very top of the World Trade Center, at the top of the needle, which is a basket. There's a basket underneath the very top. It's very, very dangerous. 1,776 feet in the air. Then this actually goes back to September 30th, but it just got released the other day. 4 men also climbed to the very top, 1,776 feet in the air, and were able to parachute off the top of the World Trade Center. I want to show you this video first. If you have not seen this jump from the World Trade Center, it's absolutely breathtaking. But on the other side of the video, I want to talk about this. And Mama is right. These people deserve an absolute medal for exposing how easily accessed this is. It's not even funny at this point, folks. So look at this. If you haven't seen it yet, wait until you see this. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the first time I saw it, it literally took my breath away because of the amazing heights. Have a look.
You ready?
Yep. Good one, brother.
You too, man.
So after that, he just kind of walks on the side of the West Side Highway, which is where he landed, believe it or not. For those of you unfamiliar, that was West Street, or the West Side Highway in New York City, and there was very few cars on there, which is just amazing. And, you know, as stupid as it might have been for what they did, I really think they did a great service for this country. Because the bottom line to all of this, folks, is as frightening as that is, and as much as it took your breath away probably, and it was just an unbelievable sight, they demonstrated how clearly inept the Port Authority is in securing that building. Because if those 5 people, those 4 guys plus the 16-year-old from Weehawken, could get to the very top, what is to say that if I didn't have complete ammunition, I couldn't strap it onto my body, walked right in, and gotten to the top right there and blown the whole building up? Bring it down before it even gets anywhere. Think about it. It's not only plausible, it was absolutely, unequivocally possible to do. Think about this. They got in there with their cameras. They got in there with their parachutes and all this other stuff. Instead of the parachutes being in the bag, why couldn't it have been a terrorist from across the river in Jersey City, where many of them are believed to live, with all sorts of ammunition and TNT or dynamite or anything that they could have placed anywhere in that building and taken that building down, or that they could have placed in that building in hidden spots that could have been used to bring the building down in a year from now when the building is occupied by people. Because, of course, the terrorists, you know, they could say it all they want. They wouldn't just want to bring the building down without any people in it. What good would it be for a terrorist if there weren't people in there working? So why not plant this stuff, keep it in hiding, and then in a year from now, because the building is supposed to open up within the next couple of months, just set it off while people are in there at 9 o'clock in the morning, just like September 11th, 2001. That's the bottom line, my friends, here, is that these nutty terrorists could have done this if they had known. Very, very easily. And that building that we have been watching go up over the last couple of years, in a symbol to say, to hell with you, Bin Laden, and all your people for what you did September 11th, 2001, it could have happened all over again. And scary for me to have to say this, because I want to believe the Port Authority knows how to do its job. I still think it would be possible to be done, even now in the future. Even though 2 CNN producers tried to get in there the other day and couldn't, because the security was much more beefed up after these 2 incidents that happened that we knew about within a week of each other, even though one happened in September, okay? So just keep that in mind. That jump off the top was September 30th of 2013. So, I mean, that's pretty disgraceful. When you consider the fact that nearly 3,000 people lost their lives on September 11th, 2001, in that very spot, that any person could go into that building and jump off or take pictures and do what they did is not only disturbing, it is unacceptable, and it is disgusting. There is no circumstance under which that should have been allowed to happen. But I tell you this, I am so happy that both of these incidents did. I am so grateful that both of those incidents did. And those 4 guys who jumped off were arrested and charged with trespassing and breaking and entering. They should not have been arrested. They should have been given an eternal medal. As Mawa said earlier on in the program, what they did was magnificent. They exposed a system that is weak. They exposed a system that is unacceptable, and they exposed a system that could have opened up the Freedom Tower before it even got its doors open to more terrorist attacks. And again, I understand that in most cases terrorists don't blow up empty buildings. But could you imagine what it would do to the psyche of the United States of America, and more importantly, the city of New York, if before that building even opened its doors, it was taken down? Could you even imagine that? And it very well, you could say I'm nuts, but you can't deny it. The simple fact is it could very well have been brought down between September 30th and last week. There's no reason to think or to say, oh, it wouldn't have been possible. Yes, it would have. because if 5 separate individuals were able to get in there with the equipment that they had, which included those big-ass bags that carry the parachutes and these video cameras, which could very well have been trigger alarms, or they could have been bombs, or whatever it is, easily, World Trade Center 1, before its doors were open, could have been taken down just as it was 13 years ago on September 11th, 2001 with the Twin Towers. And yes, they were sleeping at the wheel, and if this isn't a great wake-up call, I don't know what is. And I hope there are other people who test this again. I really do. I hope there are more people like these guys who have the courage to test it again and to see whether they have made corrections after this. Because if they don't, folks, all we're going to see is a repeat of what we saw. I mean, we are destined to have another 9/11, and not only are we destined to have another 9/11, we're destined to have it at the same spot it happened the first time. People thought after 1993, oh, there's no way in hell there could ever be another attack on the World Trade Center. We learned our lesson from that one when they tried to drive a truck, a rented truck, Hertz truck, into the basement and take the place down at its support columns. No, it could never happen again. It did 8 years later. And what's to say 13, 14, 15 years later there's not somebody other than Osama bin Laden who's plotting to do this again? And why not do it at the very same spot? Because if we know for sure that the security at that location is as bad as it is, and if we know for sure that the security in that location is basically non-existent, why not? Maximum death again. You don't even need airplanes this time. All you got to do is walk in at 2 o'clock in the morning, set up your devices, and boom, it's gone. So it's a disgrace in one regard, folks, but it's also a great wake-up call, one that I am so glad happened. And let's just hope and pray somehow that it can't happen again. But unfortunately, I'm not so sure. I don't know. I mean, I actually heard this. You're not going to believe this. If I didn't mention this earlier. The lower floors of the One World Trade Center are protected by the Port Authority Police Department. And I want you to know I have the greatest love for the Port Authority Police Department because a dear friend of mine whose dad just had a stroke a couple of days ago is a Port Authority police officer. And she always shares stories about the intense work that they do and the training and all this other stuff. So I certainly understand the pressures that World Trade Center, the Port Authority police officers are under. But the fact of the matter is, the upper floors of that building, from I think it's level floor 5 and up, are protected by a private security company. Really? A private security company? I mean, it's just like what the NSA does and puts these buffoons who check your luggage when you get onto an airplane. They're not trained properly. They don't know what the hell's going on. You might as well just put an $8 an hour buffoon on each floor so that they could just totally ignore everybody, take money so that they can live a better life from these terrorists and let them blow the place up. How that's possible? A private security firm handling security at the World Trade Center, after all that's happened there over the years, just blows my mind. Keep that in mind. Don't forget that. The World Trade Center, the Freedom Tower, my friends, above the 5th floor or whatever it is protected by civilians. Doesn't get much dumber than that as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't get more scary than that, and it doesn't get more. Who is missing the point here? Unfortunately, the Port Authority is so caught up with this whole Chris Christie thing, and who shut the bridge down, who didn't shut the bridge down, who knew, who didn't know, that they're not doing their job where it matters more. Who gives a shit about the damn bridge? It's over and done with. Move on. Now pay attention to the real situation, and that is that World Trade Center 1, the Freedom Tower, is not safe. And if it continues not to be safe, you might as well just bring it down now. It's 18 minutes past the hour. Canessa here with you on KC and 60 on this Wednesday evening. We're going to make a phone call right now to our dear friend Joel McGurk, who is going to get on the air. Unfortunately, he can't shove in today because Carter's not feeling well, so he's got to go outside to make the phone call. So I'm going to bring him on by phone. I'd much prefer not doing it this way, but it's the only way I can, so we can get him on the air. So, of course, my phone's not going to dial out. Oh, there it is. But he should be with us in just a second.
That's a great point on the World Trade Center. That's not safe.
I was hoping you were listening because I didn't want you to think I forgot about you. I'm sorry about that.
No, dude. That was a beautiful. I'm gonna throw some conspiracy. Like,
Go for it.
do you think they let it happen to see what they need to do to improve security? Just throwing it out there because maybe they knew that they were going to jump off. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? With all the government things that go on now and all the drones and all the surveillance that they have, do you think maybe they knew that they were just parachuters, just throwing it out there to see what they have to do to improve the security?
Let me say this. I'm not so sure they necessarily knew about the parachuters, but I wouldn't put it past them that they made the security so weak that trespassers could get in there, in other words, okay? So,
Yeah.
but the thing that bothers me...
Interesting.
Yeah, go ahead, Joel.
I think, like, maybe they let it happen, Kev.
Yeah, think of... To add to your theory, I want you to think about the show that you and I both liked called Prison Break, okay?
Yeah.
Remember how in the first season we see several issues where the inmates were paying off the guards to get a better cell, how John Abruzzi paid off, what's his name, the head guard so that he could get the work detail and then dig the hole to get out. All right, what's to say when you and one of the things was he says, do you think I come in this place every day for $40,000 a year to make smiles and shake hands with you people? No, it's because of the extra money that he gets. So what's to say too that this private security firm has these guys who are making like $12 an hour, which is really what they make, taking money from people who say, listen, I want to try this out. Here's a couple $100. Let me go. They turn their back. Nobody knows. There's no cameras. That's the other thing. There are no cameras yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if they allowed it to happen, and I also wouldn't be surprised if there were people paying other people off at the security firms to try things out.
That's an interesting point. But I think when it opens fully and it's functioning, I don't think anything they will let happen to that. I think this was a test run of conspiracy that they let these guys do it. How many times have you seen people jump from the Sears Tower or the Empire State Building or the Grand Canyon? You know, things like that are fully protected. And
right.
I don't know the statistics after 9/11 who's base jumped, but I know that's a big fad, and I know that's a big thing that people do. But who's to say that, now they know exactly where the weak points are. They needed this to happen. It's better that it be base jumpers than Al Qaeda or something happened. Maybe I don't know. Bad things have to happen to improve. Like hotels that get robbed, they improve their security. They don't let it happen again. They need to see the weaknesses to get better.
Do you really think that that's the way they would do it, though? The most sophisticated city in the world, some of the best terrorism experts in the world, would they need to do it that way? Honest to God, I'm asking you seriously.
Honest to God, how many times have we seen Jack Bauer in 24 TV shows where they portray real life, and I'm throwing the real life in quotes, and they let things happen? How many, even in the shows you watch, Rookie Blue or Chicago PD, do they let people do drugs, or they let people infiltrate things? In reality, Donnie Brasco, what did he do? Joe Piscopo in real life. He infiltrated the mob. He beat the shit out of people. He was involved in murders. What's to say that who's going to stop the government? Who's going to stop anything from letting it happen until they see what they can happen and they can better the end result? Let's take it to this level.
Yeah.
Look at the new things in education, the core competency.
Oof.
How they want you to solve math problems with 108 steps where you can solve it in 2. They want you to do it that way. They want you to try to rationalize things and make things more complicated than they have to be. That's the society we live in now.
You make sense. You really do make sense here, because the truth of the matter is, if you go back to 24, I was just watching the first season of 24 the other day. I'm sorry, the second season of 24. And if you recall, that was the year that, in the beginning of the series, Jack Bauer infiltrates this group of people who blow up CTU Los Angeles, remember?
Yep.
And And the president's people were saying, you know what, we're not going to tell the president about this. We're going to let it happen, because to lose 6 lives, or however many would ultimately result, is better than losing the lives of 3 million people. So I guess it's possible that's very much what happened in this situation. It just drives me crazy that's what it takes, though. But if that is what it takes, I guess you're right. Better that it happens on September 30th, 2013, than on September 30th, 2014, when there are 15,000 people working in that building, right?
Exactly, and that's how you got to look at it. You know, sacrifice the freedom of 3 or 4 base jumpers for the freedom of 15,000 people. And sometimes, sacrificing the few for the many is the better end of the way the society we live in now. Think about this, too. And I saw a post on Facebook. What started the Revolutionary War? A tax on tea, Kev. A tax on tea. And the freedoms, the little freedoms of things. That's what started the Revolutionary War. And look at the society we live in now. Look at all the freedoms that are taken away from us. Look at the way the government is telling us how we live our lives. And we're all doing it. And we're not saying anything. And no one's revolting. But little things add up to a lot of big things. And in the grand scheme of things, tower jumpers, base jumpers, mean absolutely shit. They're harmless. They're harmless. They were having a go at it. They wanted to base jump from some big structure, and they posed no real threat. And all the conspiracy theories and all the things that are out there about 9/11 is, the fact is this, and I believe this to a fact, that we knew it was going to happen and we didn't do shit to stop it.
I'm confused.
I think they knew that people were going to jump.
I'm confused. It's not about the jump, Joel. This is about exposing a flawed security system. The jump it doesn't matter what they did.
They were just jumpers. But they were just jumpers. They weren't going to blow things up. And and you're right, it is about the security system. But they pose no threat.
No, but that doesn't matter. But those 4 jumpers could have been Al-Qaeda. They could have been Al-Qaeda. They could have been a fringe group of lunatics who decided on their own that they wanted to blow the place up. On that very night, why couldn't 4 other guys with pipe bombs strapped to their chest walked in there?
No, that's a good point, too. But I think they knew what they were when they started. I think if they knew that they were just going to jump, they weren't out to do harm. I think if they were out to do harm,
no, they weren't.
They would have known about it.
No, they weren't out to do harm because they went in there to expose the security flaws. That's basically what they did. So
and I think, and you're right, as much as a travesty as it is, it's a good thing because now they can make improvements.
Well, yes.
Now that, as Mawa said, they won't sleep at the wheel.
But I'm still trying to figure out though what the difference is if they're parachuters or terrorists with bombs strapped to their chests. Are you saying if these guys had planned something with bombs on their chests, they wouldn't have been able to get in? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
How?
That's what I'm saying.
How?
That's what I'm saying. Because how does the government know what you're doing at 2 o'clock in the morning? How does the government know that a hacker is hacking into a certain security system, target, when he doesn't know that he's hacking into your bank account?
Okay, but
how do they know that?
What if they didn't use cell phones? What if they all did this in the privacy of their homes and there was no way to tap into their and get the intelligence? Look,
I think it's a farce to say that because I think and this is going to sound really screwed up because of the society we live in, that people want freedom, but nothing we do is free, Kev. And look at the reports coming out about how they're tracking your cell phone, how the Library of Congress archives all the tweets we send out. They know everything. Whether they share that information or not, that's another story. They had computers in the 1960s, and we didn't know about it. How many things go on that we don't know about, truthfully? In the society we live in the government, in the technology. They say that we have technology now, but the government has 20 years in advance.
I understand that. I truly do, but I also believe that, Joel, the other day we went to the park with Carter and Paige, your son and your daughter.
Yep.
Why couldn't Joel McGurk and Kevin Knessa sit down at one of those picnic tables there and plan our plot without the government knowing anything or hearing anything? And why couldn't we have carried it out without anybody knowing about it, because there were no communication devices that we would have used. Yes, we would have had to buy materials and things like that, but maybe we know the right people to get it from, who could help us to build a superior bomb that would be strong enough to take down a building, like they take down the stadiums when they demolish them. Why couldn't we do that? I don't understand how, like, they're not necessarily something the military would know about.
No, I understand where you're coming from with that, but you're talking about a difference between Tradition Field in Port St. Lucie, Florida, and the Freedom Towers. I don't know how to explain, but like, what I'm saying is, don't you think that they have infrared, that they have all kinds of things, that they could see things at the trade center that we won't see necessarily? That someone is sitting at a computer looking and saying, "Oh,
no,
that's just a backpack." You don't think that's...
No, they admitted it. They already said there are no functioning cameras yet at World Trade Center 1. There are no functioning cameras.
But what about NASA? What about the security? I don't know. I just, because you hear about so many things, and you hear about how they're in on your phone conversations and you don't know about it, or I just find it hard to believe that they can sit there and say, and I think it's good that they said there's no security cameras and there's no nothing, because if some jackass is sitting in a mountain in Afghanistan plotting something, they think they have it home and free. When in all reality, NASA could be sitting over there with a satellite that a million times zooms in and sees the detail of your eyelashes. That's the truth of the matter. That's the technology we have. Do you think they're really going to admit we have no security for high? Do you think they're really going to admit that?
Wait, so are you now saying that you think it's actually quite the opposite, that the security at World Trade Center 1 is absolute top of the line, and they're trying to tempt people to do this?
I don't know if tempt is the right word. I think just not letting... I think not giving the full truth is something that the government is very good at doing. They were very good at deceiving not only the American public, but the world public. I mean, look at the persona that America has throughout the world. It's they're this, they're that, but they have this, they have that. They have things they don't talk about. They're not tempting someone. I just think they're kind of saying, try to fuck with us. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if tempt is the right word, but I just think they're not giving a full story. They're just trying to make this less than what it is. And the truth is this. They were just base jumpers. If they were Al-Qaeda, I truly believe that they would not let this happen again, because as you stated in your tremendous opening, that the destruction it would do to the American public, I don't think that they would let that happen again. But that's just me. And I'm not the biggest fan of the government in the world, Kevin. I'm not. I think they've taken a lot of things from us. I think they're going in the wrong direction. But when it comes to certain things, I think they have to make it seem like it's nothing. Like back in the 60s, Kevin, and you know me, I'm a big history buff. The Bay of Pigs was bigger than they made it seem like. And it's things like that. The Cold War, I think in the 80s, was closer to destruction than a lot of people let on, because of the way they mirrored the story. And I think nowadays you look at it, and you can't say that, we have the top of the line security and they got past us. They may have let them get past the security. We don't really know the truth. No one knows the truth. The truth is being told to us as what they're saying. And they're saying they didn't have cameras. They didn't have this. But in reality, they have all of the security. They have the NASA. They have the satellite that can look at you and tell you that you're drinking a Starbucks coffee sitting in Port St. Lucie, Florida, with a bowl of mini-wheats. They can tell you that. That's the truth.
I understand that part. I do, but I also think what you're basically saying is there's no way we could have a repeat of 9/11, and I think that's crazy. I think it's more than possible we'll have another 9/11 in our lifetime. It may not be New York.
I think we do. I think you're right. I think it is a possibility, but I don't think they will ever let it happen to New York and to the World Trade Center, the Freedom Towers. I don't think it would happen there again. I think you're right. It's a possibility. Someone can strap a bomb to their chest and go in the subway tunnels in L.A., go to the L train in Chicago, go wherever and do it. But I think because of what happened, I don't think they would ever allow it again if it was a legitimate threat to the sustainability of America.
Remember, though, that they don't always have the best information. They did not get the best intelligence in 2002 when everybody said the intelligence said that there were weapons of mass destruction that Saddam Hussein was harboring. Let us not forget that a week before 9/11, they had this intelligence that said bin Laden determined to strike using airplanes as missiles, and the Bush administration turned its back on that. So there are instances too, Joel, where there's clear intelligence that's ignored, and then there's bad intelligence that's adhered to that becomes a big problem. So I still think that in our lifetime, it's not only going to happen, it's probably going to happen within the next 5 or 6 years, because they've been on a small streak. It's been 13 years since a big attack.
No, let me say this though. Look at things that happened after 9/11.
Right.
Every time that you hear of a bag left somewhere, don't they check it out to the fullest capability?
They do.
Don't they shut down streets? Don't they shut down airports? Don't they shut down major terminals for any small little thing now?
Yeah, but they're not always going to get the right intelligence, because, again, you can say all you want that the NSA is following everything. They are still not 100% there. I can't imagine that they're 100% there. Like, I really don't think that, I honestly believe that nobody other than the people who are watching this program right now are listening to our conversation. But I think what you're saying is you think that it's possible that they're recording this conversation somewhere.
I think so, Kev. I think if they're going to harbor every tweet, every Facebook message, every cell phone conversation, who's not to say that somewhere, somebody in a back cave of Washington, D.C., in the corner cubicle of the Pentagon, is checking every internet conversation. If you mention the word bomb, if you mention the word Freedom Tower, if you mention the word 9/11, I mean, how many books are at corporate at libraries all over America? If you check out a book, do they not put you on a watch list?
Wait.
I'm just saying.
So you think that if I say to you, Joel, my intention is to blow up World Trade Center 1 on September 11th, 2014, you think somebody's hearing this right now and they're going to call me tonight?
They may be. That may be key words. I mean, look at the guy. Okay, I'll take 2 examples, and we'll use it from the world of Twitter. Look at the guy who got arrested for the Mets for making threats to the Mets and blowing up Citi Field. Look at the guy who said he would kill James Dolan, and they arrested him. Things have changed since 9/11, and I think when it comes to the Freedom Towers and it comes to that, under all costs, bad information, good information, they're going to do something. Who's to say that, all right, let's take this further. 2016, a news story breaks. We're live, blah, blah, blah. We had information of a tip that someone might blow up the Freedom Tower. Oh, but it didn't pan out. But look, they went there. They got the full arms. You don't think the American public would go like, hell yeah, it doesn't matter, good information, bad information, someone said something and we're taking a stand against it.
That's a great point. It's a fantastic point. It really is. But isn't it scary that this is where we are? I mean, to me, this is just mind-boggling. It's amazing that it's this point. Wow.
It is mind-boggling, but it's the unfortunate reality that we live in today, that it doesn't matter what you're doing. Someone could be watching. You say the wrong thing, you do the wrong thing, and you're pretty much screwed.
Well, let's test it. You and I have plans to bomb the World Trade Center in 2015, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see if we get contacted. Just out of curiosity.
All right.
Let's see if we get contacted. Okay. We've put it out there that we have plans to blow up the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2015. Let's see if that happens. See if we get a knock on the door from the NSA. I'll be curious. It would be kind of funny if it happens, because we're lying and we have no intention of this. But maybe they have to follow up on it.
And you know what? You can physically write to the FBI and ask for your file. It is public record. So maybe someone needs to send in a request and ask if they've said anything, if they've done anything. And that's all public record.
I think I'd be afraid to see my FBI file, and yours too, for that matter.
I don't even want to know.
I mean, on the lam, like seriously
That's
here.
True.
We're talking to Joel McGurk, the Mouth, here at 7:38 on the KC and 60. We were going to talk Mets baseball, but we spent the last 20 minutes talking about the World Trade Center and this crazy situation there. Did you see the jump, by the way? Did you get to see the video of the jump?
I did. I think that would be cool as hell to do, even though I'm scared of heights. I think to jump from the tallest building, to do the security, breach their security, like you said. It's a tremendous feat what they did. It's scary in the same sense, but how about a feeling of adrenaline? You want to talk about
Sure.
a drug that gets you high? How about base jumping? I mean, that would be pretty cool.
But didn't they get lucky that they didn't smack into another building or something and didn't just fly into the Hudson River? I mean, with the winds the way they were, you got to be. They must have done this.
Think about the guy in 1986 who jumped out of a plane into the middle of Shea Stadium. How did he know he's not going to land on the terminal at JFK?
Still don't believe. I cannot believe that the pure accuracy that man had. I was there that night too, and just watching him fly in over left field, it was like, are you kidding me? Oh my God! And speaking of the New York Mets, opening day's coming up in a couple of days. It's less than a week away. Can't believe that. I'm pretty excited about this 2-game series up in Montreal on Saturday and Sunday. Gary Carter is going to be honored, and also the 1994 Expos are going to be honored, the team that was so good that never got to the postseason. So tell me this, Joe McGurk, do you have any interest in seeing the Mets and the Blue Jays playing up at Olympic Stadium in Montreal, or is it just like, all right, let's get this over with and get to Citi Field and start the damn season?
I think this was done with intent from Bud Selig. He knows he's leaving. He knows he wants to expand baseball. And there's been a big movement. If you look on Facebook, if you look on social media, if you look at articles about baseball, they want baseball back in Canada. And I think this is a test. And I think this is going to test the waters for Major League Baseball to expand. And I'll stick to my theory that I want the Tampa Bay Rays to move to Montreal. The Olympic Stadium was an Olympic Stadium. It wasn't built for baseball. The fans of Montreal were saddened by the loss of the Expos, and
right.
They may not have shown it with the numbers, just like the fact that the Mets, they don't show it as attendance. There are more Mets fans that I saw during spring training who love and support the Mets, and I think you get a stadium built right in Montreal that you can get attendance numbers like the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Cubs, and whether they compete or not. I think Montreal loves its baseball, and sometimes you got to let things go, and when they come back to you, they're more appreciated. And I think this is a test by Major League Baseball to see the reaction of the Canadian fan bringing it back to Montreal.
I hear that there's going to be some phenomenal crowds at these 2 games, and that there's going to be all sorts of not protesting, but encouragement to get the Expos back. And I think you're 100% right. If you build a 37,000-seat stadium that has a roof that works, unlike the one that they put in the 1990s at Olympic Stadium that was a disaster and that collapsed. You remember that? I mean, you've got a great city. In 1981, when that team made it to the postseason, that city was jumping in that short season, split season strike of 1981. So I happen to agree with you. I mean, that place was jumping in 1994 with that team that was as good as it was. So I think the best thing they did, too, tell me if you agree with me or not, was not only to have the games there to test it out, but to have the Mets there. Because the Mets are always a big draw in Montreal, no?
Yeah, always. I mean, from Gary Carter, the granddaughter, and Rusty Staub, as you reminded me the other day, I think, baseball has a home. And like you said, 94, when they had Randy Johnson and Pedro Martinez and Larry Walker, everyone forgets that you look around the baseball last 10 years, how many of them were Montreal Expos
so many.
Originally?
So many.
They knew how to do the skills, and they loved baseball. And it was just, the stadium itself was a piece of crap. It's just, and it's just unfortunate. And I think this is smart by Major League Baseball to do what they're doing.
If they do go back there permanently, would they probably have to play a couple years at Stade Olympique and then build while they're there? Yeah. How long from now do you think it'll be before it happens? And do you and if it does happen, and it is the Rays, like, could this happen in the next couple of years? Are we talking like short term?
I think 2020 is when we're going to see.
Oh, really?
Having a team.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a couple of years. I think you're going to see the series with the Mets. You're going to see the reaction from the fans, and then you're going to see somebody making a move. And again, I go back to Tampa Bay. The Trop is a dump. They don't want to build a new stadium. Their lease ends in 2016. It will take a couple years to build a stadium, and I think by 2020 it is totally feasible that you can have the Montreal Rays or whatever you want to make them.
Oh, they'd be the
playing.
Expos again.
That,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that no doubt.
I think it's feasible that by 2020 we will have another team in Canada.
I hope you're right. I mean, aside from the Whalers leaving Hartford in the NHL, the Expos leaving Montreal, to me, was one of the worst things to ever have to experience. And I think part of that's because I experienced the whole aura of going to a game there, which was just, I went to 3 games there, actually, and it was one of the best weekends of my life. Granted, it was 23 years ago, but it was still something. And that's such a wonderful city. It's such a clean city, such a safe city, a great place to visit. Maybe next year or another year down the line, instead of the Blue Jays playing 2 exhibition games there, they play 3 or 4 home games there, just to give it a sense. Like maybe that happens. So you never know.
Yeah, you never know. And just like every other sport, NBA, NHL, MLB, they're all trying to expand internationally and globalize the sport. And Canada is a great place. Like you said, it was years and years ago, Kev, 20 years ago that you went. But it seems like yesterday to you.
It does.
It was that great of an experience.
Right.
When you look at the generation today and you look at the people who love sports, they want a good experience. It's not just about the game anymore. It's about the experience of the game and remembering it. And I think, when you can say that you remember going to the Olympic Stadium 20 years ago, and you look at the group of fans who are still supporting Expos baseball, who want it back, it's awesome. It's just like the Quebec fans who want hockey. It's like the Seattle fans who want a franchise. Popular opinion will sway NBA and NHL and MLB and NFL to make things happen. I mean, it's happened. The technology is changing. Yeah. Fan opinion is changing. The goalposts in the NFL were just approved to go 5 feet higher. Not only the fans said that, owners said that.
Right.
And when the fans speak, eventually owners listen and higher-ups listen. It's especially in sports nowadays where everyone is trying to appease everyone else, and that's the truth.
So true. And for a city like Montreal, as big as it is, to only have one sports franchise is ridiculous. And, take it one step further. I agree with you. I hope Quebec gets a franchise as well in the NHL. But we're talking baseball today here with Joel McGurk. And opening day comes about Monday afternoon, 1:10, Citi Field, Mets and the Washington Nationals. McGurk, I got to be honest with you. This is the first opening day I'm looking forward to in many years. I really believe that this Mets team is going to surprise everybody. I really think this is the 84 Mets reincarnated here. Not the 83 Mets, the 84 Mets. I think we might see something very special come out of Zach Wheeler. I think we might see some major surprises from some of these guys. So tell me, let's go in certain areas here. There's still no sense of who's going to play first base. What's going on between Lucas Duda and Ike Davis, and what do you think should happen there?
Absolutely. Well, you look at it this way, and a lot of people are saying it, and I know Tom has said this, our good friend Tom O'Connell has said, what about first base? What about shortstop? Well, let's start with first base. And what's not to say that, Ike Davis can't be the Ike Davis when he came up, or Lucas Duda can't perform to major abilities. Both of them made the roster. Yes, they were hurt, and I understand that, and we don't have a Keith Hernandez at first base, but you don't need solid players at every base, every position. You need guys who can contribute. You need guys who want to make things happen. And, as much as I thought that Sandy calling out the team saying 90 wins, I thought about that, Kev, and I slept on it. And why say we want to be mediocre? If you ask for a lot, sometimes you get a lot. And I don't think a lot has been asked about this Mets team since 2006, when they made it 1 out away, the Andy Chavez catch, and all this glee, and nothing but disappointment. Since then, what have we asked for our New York Mets, Kev? That we want to be able to watch baseball in August and September and make it matter? That's not really asking for much.
No.
That's asking to be a baseball team. This year, they're asking for excellence. And I don't think, over the last 10 years, anyone has said that they want excellence from the New York Mets.
Right, because you didn't expect
it. And I think that's a different attitude this year coming out. You have holes at first base. You have holes at shortstop. great. You don't have your ace, Matt Harvey. But who the hell did we have in 2000? Who?
Right,
Do we
Mike
not
Bordick.
have holes everywhere?
Right.
Do not teams have holes everywhere that make runs every once in a while? Who's not to say that Bartolo Colon won't be the Bartolo Colon with the Oakland A's? A move I was doubting, but you never know. Who's to say that the Daisuke Matsuzaka that's going to take the number 5 spot in the rotation can't be a solid number 3 guy? Who's to say that Ike Davis can't hit 25 bombs? Who's to say the combination of Granderson, Wright, and Ike Davis won't surprise people?
Right.
We have never asked for excellence from this Mets team. And I think this year they're asking for excellence in a National League that is dilapidated. You have the Nationals. You have the Dodgers. You have the Cardinals. But after that, you don't have anything.
Right. Right. Well, with that said, then, why is Sandy Alderson so hesitant to sign Stephen Drew? You could get rid of one of those major problems with a 2-year, $20 million contract, Joel. I don't get it. That's what's making me scratch my head, because they seem to me like they could surprise. Imagine if Stephen freaking Drew was on this team.
No, I understand that, and I can understand your concern. But I think he doesn't want 2 years. I think he wants 3 years, and I think he wants more money. And I think he's being greedy. And I think if Sandy really thought he could get a 2-year deal out of Stephen Drew, he would have taken it.
But why is he not being signed anywhere? Why this guy? If this is all he wants,
he wants too much. Because he's being greedy. He wants that longer contract to get more money when he knows he's not worth it. That's why teams aren't signing him. When you look at some of the teams, and let's take Irvin Santana for a second. He couldn't sign anywhere. It only took an injury for him to get signed, and he wound up getting less money. Look at Nelson Cruz, a guy who did steroids, wound up getting $1 million more than what Chris Young got. I think it is the greed of the players that inhibit them from being signed, and I think that's why some of them are sitting on the sideline. It's because they think who they are, and they just won't take the deal that's in front of them to prove themselves.
So what's going to happen with Stephen Drew then? I mean, we're a couple of days away from opening day, and he hasn't played a spring training game yet. What's he going to do? Where's he going to go?
A major injury is going to have to happen for some team to sacrifice the amount of money that he wants. And that's what he's waiting for.
Yeah,
and that's what, Kev, this isn't the first time this has happened.
This is absurd, though.
Players have sat out for injuries to happen.
Really?
Like I said, again, Irvin Santana, he was waiting and waiting and waiting. It took a Chris Medlin, Tommy John surgery to get him signed. So you look at baseball, and that happens all the time. The guys who are in the twilight of their career, who want to wait to see if someone's going to sign them, but nothing happens until a major injury happens. And I think that's what's going to happen to Stephen Drew. And I hate to say this, and I hate to give any thought to this team, but I think the Yankees are going to have a major injury at shortstop, and he's going to go to the Yankees. I hate to say it.
No.
True.
Oh, that would be a nightmare scenario. I mean, my hope is that he finally says, I don't like sitting around not playing games in April, and he says, okay, Sandy, you offered me $220, I'll take it. I mean, I don't want this to... really? Like these
greedy, Kev.
They would rather...
be about the greed in this kind of society.
They would really rather make nothing and hope. I mean, there's always a chance, I know this is going to sound crazy, that there isn't going to be some kind of injury that could get them back into the league. So why would he take that chance?
Because he's already made a ton of money. You think he's sitting there broke? No. He's sitting there waiting for the best deal possible.
Wow. We're talking to Joel McGurk here. The Mets open up Monday afternoon, 1:10 on SNY against the Washington Nationals. The rotation is very interesting. Dylan G basically said, I'm starting opening day by default. But when you look at that rotation, that's a pretty impressive 5 to me. If they are average, if they are nothing more than average, and you get a good year out of G, you get a good year out of Nice, you get a good year out of Matsuzaka, you get a good year out of... listen, that rotation, I might take over just about any other in the National League East. What say you?
Absolutely. I like it. I know they're missing Matt Harvey. I think that's a huge loss. But Dylan G, he has won more games on the Mets staff in the last 3 years than any Mets pitcher on the staff. Jonathan Nice, you could say what you want. Like Tom said, oh, he's injured, oh, this. He's willing to come back. He's ready. He will be ready 6 days into the season. He will start against the Cincinnati Reds. You look at Zach Wheeler. He's poised to have a breakout year. You look at all the guys up and down, the guys who didn't even make the roster, Rafael Montero. Hey, don't forget Noah Syndergaard, and you and I had this conversation. In June, if the Mets are fighting and you bring up a guy like that, boom, instant ace. Up and down, and Matt Suzaka, he's a guy who has 8-9 pitches, who impressed in spring training, who we don't forget near the end of last year, looked really good.
Yeah.
So, and you look at the Braves' injury to Chris Medlin. Now that rotation doesn't look as fierce. You look at the Nationals, who that rotation. I'm sorry, Steven Strasburg, Gio. These guys. That's the best rotation in the National League, in my opinion. And I think it's going to be hard to chase that. And some people can argue and sit here and say, "Oh well, the Cardinals have been." I don't care what the Cardinals have done. And I'm telling you right now, Steven Strasburg is going to finish second in the Cy Young Award. The Nationals are going to surprise some people. I said that when they won, but they're the team to beat, in my opinion, in the National League. Not taking anything away from the Cardinals. But after that, the Nationals and the Cardinals, the Giants, come on. Tim Lincecum isn't the same guy. I know they have some of the same other guys. The Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw, Zach Greinke, I understand the moves that they made. But that they have so much hype to live up to, and sometimes that's hard to. But the Mets, who's talking about Dylan G? Who's talking about Jonathan Neese?
That's the beauty of it.
Thinking that Bartolo Colon will be the same 40-year-old.
Right.
I think things can surprise.
I think the fact that what you just said, the fact that they're not being discussed, they're not really being even taken seriously in New York, is the greatest thing. Less pressure on this team. They go out, they have a lot of fun, and they win ball games. And I think Daisuke is really the biggest X factor here. Everybody's just written him off. Why? He's just a couple years removed from phenomenal seasons. Okay, everybody has off years, so why can't his off year have been 2 years ago? That's all I think, right? And you're right. When nobody's thinking about Neese, or nobody's thinking about G, and nobody's thinking about Bartolo Colon, that's where you get surprised. This is where one of those years when the Devils won the Stanley Cup, but I never expected it in 2003. With a fourth or fifth seed, whatever it was in the playoffs, it was like, whoa, I forgot how good this team really was. But we didn't really see it until they got into place. Before the season began, may not have been that discussion. So I got a feeling that they could even be involved in the division. That's how much I think this team is going to surprise people. I really do. And I think this one kid to look forward to is Anthony Serratelli. He's got a great personality, and I think he brings something to the locker room that most people don't.
I think you're right, and I think that's the other thing. I think we've been through so much heartache as Mets fans, and you say wait till next year, like Brooklyn Dodger fans, and you got guys like Tom who are at the other end of the spectrum, and you got guys like me sometimes who think the cup is half full when it's really half empty. But I think this year, it's something I can't put my finger on it. And I think if you talk to Mets fans back in 2000, you were hard to say that they would have made the World Series and played the Yankees. And I think this is something like that. I think you have Granderson, you got Wright, you got Chris Young, who I think is going to. As much as I didn't like the signing at first, talking to some of these guys, watching the spring training games, I think he has something to prove. I think D'Ardo, who hit his second home run, is going to come around on the hitting. So you got 4 or 5 solid position players, and the big thing to me is the bullpen again. But again, you got Rafael Montero, you got John Lanahan, who he's never been in the bullpen in his whole career, but he's living up the moment. He's doing things that they're asking of him. And I think if all the Mets players just do what they ask of them, I don't see, I see 85 wins, truthfully.
Unbelievable. Mouthy, it's always a pleasure. I hope we can do this again very, very soon.
Always make Carter's saying hello. He's sitting there. He's saying hello.
Give him a big hug for me. Tell him Uncle Kevin loves him very much.
I will, mate. And again, it's always a pleasure and an honor to be on the show, and I appreciate the time, brother.
We need to do this more and more often, okay?
Absolutely, mate.
All right. Cheers, then. Talk to you later.
Cheers, brother.
Great stuff.
Later.
There he is, Joel the Mouth McGurk, with some great insight. Some very, very interesting stuff with the Mets. And who knows? We'll see what happens. Hopefully be a very intriguing year. That's going to do it for me tonight here on KC at 60. I want to thank each and every one of you for logging on and joining me. And don't forget, coming up in a few minutes, it is Chop Shop TV right here on DARPATV.com. And then, oh wait, Bit's in the chat in the call queue. Let's go. Let's pull her up. Hey, Bit.
Hey, Casey, how you doing?
Okay, how are you? You there, Bit?
I'm good. I just wanted to comment on for World Trade Center. I think that, yes, we are better at knowing what's going on, but I don't think they had any idea that those people were climbing the tower. And I think that it was a great security breach in reference to show what's going to happen in the future with that building. And personally, as a New Yorker, it scares me, and I wish they never rebuilt it. I think that they could have done something else and just left it as a memorial and just left that alone.
Well, do you think Joel was like, and I mean this with all due respect to Joel, that he was coming up with some crazy ideas? Like, they don't mess with stuff like this, right? This is not something to F around with.
I mean, if they do, they shouldn't.
Yeah, but let me ask you this then.
If they do, they absolutely should not.
Would they? Do you think they would?
I don't think so.
I hope not. I would hope not too. But nothing. But again, nothing.
I don't think so. And the fact that the teenager had done it, climbed the tower.
Oops.
He climbed the tower with a backpack. They didn't know what was in that backpack. They didn't know that he was just a teenager going up there to see if he could do it. And I think that, it needs to bring some light onto what's going on.
Yeah, that's the thing that I think Joel was missing the point, that in that backpack or in the bag that these guys that had the parachutes in could have been TNT, could have been dynamite, it could have been multiple bombs that they placed on different floors throughout the building. So if they could get in with that parachute shit and with the video cameras and an empty backpack, why couldn't it have been filled with material that would have brought the damn building down? That's the part that I don't understand, and why people don't get that. And that because it was so flawed, it's pretty scary that very easily that building could be down already, and it hasn't even opened yet. Bit, how about that?
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Now, I don't think that the people that climbed up there had any ill will. I don't think that they went up there as a test to see if they could get up there. I think that they were thrill seekers. They went up there, they did what they did, but they never should have gotten access. I used to work directly across the street up until Hurricane Sandy. At that time, my building was destroyed and we were relocated. But I was on West Street, directly next door to Ground Zero, watched it get built from the time that it fell up until Hurricane Sandy. And it was locked down by security. When you walked past it, you couldn't even peek through the fences that they had around to see what was going on. I could only see because I was on the 15th floor looking out the window down in the hole. But, I don't even see how these people were able. The first security guard was sleeping when the teenager did it. I don't know what the case was with the parachuters, if security was sleeping then. But the fact that security is sleeping and doesn't know that people are entering the property is a huge, huge security risk.
Well, do you think they've changed it now that there's not as much building going on there, that they're close to completion? Have they changed their policies here? Is that what it's all about, or what is it? Because those guys who parachuted a bit said that they did not come in contact with a single camera or security guard their entire time there.
Right, and they were probably sleeping in the car on the property, not looking, because it's overnight, and overnight security is known to sleep and not pay attention. But I think when it comes to that site, either they've got to hire a more advanced security team and not pay them $9 an hour to secure a building that's known. Something's going to have to give, because the way that it is, it's going to come down again. And it didn't happen just once to that building, it happened twice to that building. So I don't care how much we improve security, how much we think we know, how alert we are. It's a targeted building. It's going to continue to happen, and they're going to keep going for it. And we've got to make it airtight. It's got to be sealed shut. It can't happen.
And it's
You
not.
got to need all types of ID, I think, to get in there. You need to have a fingerprint scanner. You need multiple things, in my opinion, to get into that building. It should be like trying to walk into the White House.
Absolutely. Fingerprints, retina scans, I don't care what it is. A DNA swab, you make it impossible to get in that place.
Right.
I would much rather be told as a visitor, sorry, you can't get in here, than to be able to just walk in without having to give a thumbprint or something, honestly. And that's just not the way it is. Now, do you think, in all honesty, in our lifetime, we're going to see that building come down? Or do you think we'll see some sort of similar incident of 9/11 or what?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's inevitable.
Wow. That is scary. That is scary. Not even open yet, and both of us agree that that building's going to come down. That to me just says that you're 100% right. They should have never rebuilt anything there, and that's the important thing. But it's amazing what a buck does, right? When you have this prime real estate that they can make money off of.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Exactly. But it's really sad, and I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how they're going to correct this, but they've got to hurry up and implement some big changes, because it's going to be sad this time. It's going to really be sad.
You're right. What's new otherwise, Bit? You doing okay? I know I still owe you a phone call, and I'm sorry about that, because I hate the phone.
Yes, you do. I want to talk to you about that case. It was so interesting. You died to hear all the details. Too much to go into.
On here, right? Yeah, I promise you, I'll call you in the next.
Other than that, we're doing good. Yeah.
Awesome. We've had a little delay for some reason. I'm sorry about that. I'm not cutting you off on purpose or stepping on you on purpose, but for some reason you froze a couple of times. So I'm sorry about that.
It's probably me. I'm on the app. I'm on my phone. So.
Oh, really? It's pretty damn clear for the app. That's the best app I've seen yet. That's pretty awesome. Nice.
Yeah. I just signed in real quick because I was running in from work and I wanted to get on and catch you, so I didn't have time to pull up the computer. I just jumped on my app.
Nice. Well, I'm glad you did. It's always good to see your smile, and I promise I will call you and we'll finally get a chance to catch up, okay?
I hope so, Casey. It's a good story.
All right. You're the best, and I promise I will. I'll talk to you later.
All right, thanks, Casey. Talk to you soon.
Okay, Bit. There she is, little Bit. I owe her a phone call. Ask anybody, though. I have a terrible, terrible phobia of the telephone. I don't know why. I just hate it. I hate it. I would much rather text or email. That's going to do it for me tonight. Again, thanks to Joel McGurk, and, of course, to Bit for chiming in tonight, and to Mawa for her great inclusion and contribution to our conversation. Don't forget, switch on over to Chop Shop TV. Watson and Watson's also on tonight, and Saturday night, Mawa will be back with her program right here, Live Feed USA, which I again missed last weekend because I don't have a functioning brain cell, but I will be there this weekend if it's the last thing I do, because I keep missing these shows that are phenomenal. So I hope you'll check it out. And of course, I'd be a hypocrite if I said I've been there watching, because I keep forgetting, but I'm not going to forget. I'm even going to set myself an alarm to make sure I'm there this weekend, 8 to 10 Eastern Time, Saturday night, right here on DARPA TV. So from Port St. Lucie, Florida, Canessa signing off for now. We will see you back here very, very soon. Good night, everybody.